Hello people and welcome to The Hype. I'm Brandon Kayser, and this week we'll take a look at Logan and use research and opinion to answer the question, should you be excited for it? So how this works is I'm going to take a look at the research for Logan, the things we know so far, and then I'm going to use my opinion to tell you whether you should be excited for it or not. So let's get started with the first thing we need to look at, which is who is making it? First up, of course, is director James Mangold, who directed the previous Wolverine movie, The Wolverine, which was kind of a mixed bag. It was really good, I thought, up until the end, but maybe we'll talk about that some more. He also did the Oscar winner Walk the Line and 3:10 to Yuma to highlight a couple things that are pretty good on his filmography. Next up, we'll take a look at who wrote this. So, of course, James Mangold himself had something to do with writing it, and the other movies he's written are basically the other movies he's directed, which include things like Girl Interrupted, Copland, and Kate and Leopold, along with the other things I mentioned already. But let's take a look at the other writers. First up, you have Michael Green, kind of a comic book writer guy to begin with. But anyways, the main thing that he's doing right now is he is co-creator of American Gods, the Starz adaptation of the Neil Gaiman book. So that's supposed to be great. We haven't seen it yet, but it looks cool. However, he's also the guy who co-wrote Green Lantern, so yeah, that one didn't turn out so great. So, but kind of a mixed bag also because he also wrote some Heroes and some of the short-lived television series Kings, which I thought was a interesting show. So, interesting choice to have Michael Green as writer. The other writer here, who to me is the surprise of looking into who made this movie, was Scott Frank. Scott Frank has written such things as Walk Among the Tombstones, Minority Report. He helped write The Wolverine, but most importantly to me anyways, he wrote and directed The Lookout. If you have not seen The Lookout, this is where I'm going to stop the show and tell you should probably check out The Lookout. It's a very underrated movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Isla Fisher, Jeff Daniels, Matthew Good, about a person who has mental issues where they can't remember things and they get caught up into a world of crime. So anyways, check that out. That is a great movie and one that more people need to see. So he wrote and directed that. So anyways, this is an interesting group of people. Kind of a mixed bag, but mostly positive, I'd have to say. I mean, there's nothing on here that makes... Everyone has writing credits that are both positive and negative, and I think this one is pretty solid. Yeah, they're not perfect, but, you know, what are you going to do? And as a director, Mangold is pretty good, so overall I'd say this is a positive so far in favor of this movie, is who's making it. Next up, let's look at who's in it. Of course, we have Hugh Jackman returning, who has played Wolverine for the last, 17 years, 18 years at this point. He is Wolverine to most people. In fact, some people grew up with him as Wolverine, so you have that. He's always great, very talented guy, and I'm sure he'll be great in this as well. You also have Patrick Stewart, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, who, again, is always awesome in pretty much everything he does. Then you have a couple side people who can bring some flavor. Boyd Holbrook, who I haven't really seen in much, but he is going to be in the new Predator movie that Shane Black is making, and if he's lining up stuff already, that means he must be pretty good. Plus, he gets to be the villain in this. Villains can be standouts in a movie, even if you've never heard of the person playing them, so looking forward to see what Boyd Holbrook does in this movie. Stephen Merchant is in it, the guy who does a lot of comedy stuff with Ricky Gervais, co-created and wrote, and has been in several of those shows that Ricky Gervais has done over the years. I like Stephen Merchant a lot. It'll be interesting to see what he does here in a dramatic movie. I think he can pull it off, though. I like Stephen Merchant. And then, of course, we have Richard E. Grant, who is he's a character actor. He's someone you don't normally think of. In fact, I don't really have any standout roles right off the top of my head to tell you who he is, but if you see him, you'll know who he was. He was just recently in Game of Thrones. He was the actor dude in the play version of the story so far that was in the last season. So anyways, you'll know him when you see him, and he's always solid and adds something to the movie. I did not mention the little girl who plays X-23 in this, because this is pretty much her first movie, so I don't really have anything to say or judge her casting. But she looks great in the trailers. So I'm sure she'll do a great job. Daphne Keane is her name. So there you go. Remember it, because this could be a star-making turn for her. Next up, let's go to what most people have probably seen going into this, which is the trailers. Well, let's just start by saying that this movie has had some of the best trailers of the last 5-10 years I can think of. I think the Johnny Cash trailer was my favorite trailer from last year. And yeah, the music helps, but it wasn't the only reason. It was also very well shot. And to me, I watched that trailer and I went, this looks like Wolverine Hell or High Water, which is pretty fucking awesome to me. So, trailers are awesome. If you saw the trailers, you probably don't even need this video. You're probably going to go see the movie. So there you go. Trailers are awesome. Next, we'll take a look at the buzz or the early reviews. And I'm not going to distinctly mention any reviews. I'm just going to say that right now, according to Rotten Tomatoes, after 96 reviews, it is sitting at a 94%. Very high. It's not the 100% that Get Out had last week. But anyways, it's very high, very good, especially for a genre superhero movie, one that's not Marvel. Those are good signs, and hey, that's cool. Anyways, on the Metacritic side, it has a 73 based on 28 critics' reviews. Not as hot, I'll be honest, but I don't really pay that close attention to Metacritic, so I basically just looked at it for comparison and found it interesting that it had such a low score compared to what Rotten Tomatoes had. I understand Rotten Tomatoes is just a percentage of good reviews, and this is actually based on the score people give it. I guess what it means is that some people didn't love the movie, so that kind of sucks. And finally, we'll get into some random things that could impact the way you feel about this movie. It's kind of a miscellaneous, mixed bag sort of thing. Number one, this movie is rated R. Is that a good thing? In my opinion, yes. Deadpool last year showed that a rated R Fox superhero movie meant that they could take some chances and try some new things, and creatively, it's probably a good thing for the people making the movie, especially since the source material kind of makes it make sense. Wolverine is a violent guy. He has claws. He makes people bleed. Kind of makes sense. Also, let's not forget that he has one of the greatest single uses of fucking a PG-13 movie ever in X-Men First Class.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lenstra.
Tails Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
So, Wolverine swearing makes a whole lot of sense and everybody enjoys it. Next thing you need to remember is that this is Hugh Jackman's last time playing Wolverine, supposedly. Whether he'll have a cameo in Deadpool, whether or not he'll be playing Wolverine in that cameo, nobody really knows at this point. Well, except for Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and I don't know, David Leitch. Someone else probably knows. Brett Reese and Paul Wernick. I don't know, but someone knows. Anyways, most of us don't, though. So, if we're taking everything at face value, we have to believe that this is Hugh Jackman's last time as Wolverine, which, like I said, it's been almost 20 years of him as Wolverine, so this is a big deal. This is something cool. He's going to want to go out on top. And so, another thing benefiting this movie. And finally, the random bit of knowledge that you should know going into Logan is Old Man Logan. This is a comic written by Mark Miller, drawn by Steve McNiven, and it is kind of, at this point, even though it hasn't been out that many years, is a classic Wolverine story. If you do read this comic or have read this comic, then you know or should know that a lot of the characters in that book cannot be in this movie because this is a Fox movie and not a Marvel movie. Because there's, Hawkeye and Hulk kids and like Red Skull and all sorts of stuff like that in there. So obviously they seem to have taken influence from it and possibly tone, it looks like, but it's going to be very different. But Old Man Logan is a great comic, and you should search it out if you haven't read it, and maybe it'll have some kind of benefit to you going into this movie. But anyways, all good things in my opinion. So let's wrap this up with the hype meter. So based on all this information that I've just rattled off and hopefully didn't bore you with, I'm going to now give this a score out of 10 that's going to tell you how excited you should be, and I am, for this movie. And this time I'm going to say it should be a 9 out of 10. I know a lot of people are probably 10 out of 10, and I said mostly positive things in this, but it wasn't perfect. I mean, let's remember, one of the writers did Green Lantern, and this is a Fox X-Men movie, and yes, Deadpool is awesome, and X2 is great, and Days of Future Past is great, First Class is great, but there are still things like X3, The Last Stand, and X-Men Origins Wolverine, and the end of the Wolverine wasn't very good. It kind of fell apart. So because of all those things, I can't give this the full 10 out of 10 because there is a little bit of apprehension going into it. This does seem different, this does seem interesting, and overall awesome, and that's why it still gets a 9. So, hopefully you enjoyed this, hopefully you learned some things maybe, and maybe you have a whole new appreciation going into Logan for what you may or may not see. Now, of course, this is all speculation, and I have no idea how good the movie is. I'm not a fancy internet critic or anyone else who's seen it early, so I can't tell you whether it's good or not because I haven't seen it. I will see it with the rest of you opening weekend. So, hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to like and subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff that everybody does on YouTube. And, yeah, we'll hopefully get you excited for the next movie.